Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the top 5 best AMON class mods in Borderlands 4. As you can see, AMON is a beast. This is an Ultimate Vault Hunter 5, he can delete bosses, and this is due to him having some incredible class mods which we'll be breaking down in this video. So we're just going to dive straight into things, save you guys time, and go into his honorable mentions. Now, the funny thing is there's actually a purple on the top 5 list, but in the honorable mention, we're going to start off with this purple, the Grenadier here, which gives you the ability to get additional damage, but it's the skill rolls that we really care about with the purples. This one can roll with Gut Punch, which is really good as you can do melee damage or ordnance damage to be able to debuff the enemy, making them deal 40% less damage and you deal 20% more damage to them. It can also give you this one here, which will give you ordnance cooldown on kills, which is really useful, as well as the Blackout, which allows your ordnances to critically hit. So this is great if you just want to play a ordnance style build. And our second honorable mention is a legendary one here with the Elementalist. I do see this one potentially being good later on in the DLC, but what it does is whenever an affinity skill gains a stack, all unlocked affinity skills will also gain a stack. For each stack of affinity from all skills, AMON gets increased movement speed and damage dealt. Now this buff isn't too big, it's 10% per stack. However, it's the skill rolls that are actually benefiting this as well. So our 3 affinities are actually in the blue skill tree here with the Burning Rage, which you can get a Flame affinity here, which gives you increased reload speed and action skill cooldown rate, 5 stacks there. The Cryo affinity there gives you increased gun damage per stack, which is really good. You can see there we got with 9 points, 11% gun damage per stack with 5 stacks. And then also the Thunderous Rage, and these are all skills that can roll on this. This will give you the Shock affinity, which will give you increased critical hit damage, max 5 stacks. And it can also roll with the Freezer Burn skill here as well, which will give you additional damage whenever you deal fire and ice damage. Now, the reason this is only an honorable mention is it doesn't really scale that well. The affinities are cool, but not really that impactful in terms of overall damage per second when we get into Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. And if you want to get an Elementalist, you got to actually fight the Vault Boss in Septus here, so that's the location. And for our final honorable mention, I know this is some people's favorites, and it is good. And this is another one, similar to the Elementalist, that I see being pretty good in the level cap increase with the Blacksmith here. Kill skill partially restores all active Forged Drones duration. For each active Forged Drone, AMON gains increased gun damage and Forged Drone damage. This is 10% per extra one that you got on the field, and it will always come rolling with the Forged Stone duration, 45% increase. This is good because the Forged Drones actually proc different things. It'll always roll with the ability or the skill trees that give you like the Axe Forged Drone, the Sword Forged Drone, and the Hammer Forged Drone, as well as it can also roll with Masterwork, which will increase the damage and duration even further. Now, what's nice about this is you can actually use this and get all of the different summons whenever you're in a different skill tree. And where this becomes useful is, let's say you're big into the red skill tree. I love the red skill tree. It's pretty great. My Touch is Death is really cool because whenever you deal melee damage, there's a chance to activate kill skills. So if you're heavy on the kill skills, you can actually activate them with these because they deal melee damage. This is where the big, synergy comes in if you're using other skill trees. And if you get one of these, it's actually pretty nice because of the activating of these skill trees. And you're going to be using some of these abilities anyways. And to farm a Blacksmith for yourself, you're going to go to the Umbral Foundry and you fight Vile Lictor. All right, so in 5th place, we have the Furnace, which is interesting. So damage from the Fellfrost, Horcleave, Fulminating Fist, and Storm Counter are all converted into incendiary damage. And you'll always get a flat out 45% buff to your incendiary damage. I was lucky and got gun damage boost as well. Basically, this class mod is going to make it so all the capstones and augments will only deal fire damage. So you can see there, that one turns into shock damage. This one becomes cryo damage. They all just turn back into fire damage and get a 45% buff, which is really nice. And it'll also buff up things like the Dragon's Breath here whenever you activate our ordnance or next gunshot is converted to incendiary damage. This is going to be pretty decent, especially if you got like the kunai. It's kind of funny utilizing a build like that. And you can get some nice rolls into there. It also gives us the Maiming Strike. Critical hits with guns will also apply, with a chance to apply weaknesses to enemies. They deal 40% less damage and they take 20% more damage. Similar to the Weakened from Gut Punch, kind of a similar ability there. You get it from the skill roll, which is great. It also gives the capstone ability, beside the capstone ability, with the Mortal Flare. Whenever AMON kills a weakened enemy, they detonate, dealing incendiary fire damage to nearby enemies. The damage from this isn't super high, but you can get multiple rolls into this. And it's also fire damage, and it's melee damage. So anything that buffs up your melee damage, like Titanium Knuckles, can actually buff that up as well. There's a lot of synergies here, but I just found overall the damage output from this isn't as high as some of the other skill trees, so that's why I didn't want to put it up any higher. This combos really nicely with what burns within, which will also further increase your incendiary damage. You can get electrical fire there when you burn them. They'll shock enemies, and shocks will burn enemies. So there's kind of some fun synergies. I guess another side thing I want to mention is skill damage works a little different than action skill damage. Skill damage will apply to action skills, but also applies to things like the Dragon's Breath as well. So you can build kind of full in on your melee and fire damage with this, and it's decent enough, but it just misses the mark in terms of being the best class mod for AMON. And to farm one for yourself, you're going to go to Fortress Indomita and you're going to fight Idolator Soul. Now in fourth, we got ourselves the Forge Master. This one can apply to all of them because it gives you the ability to use your Forge skill again once while on a cooldown. This is really great for a variety of reasons because Berserk, which is Amon's best ability, actually activates when you use your Forge skill, so this allows you to get into your Berserk form again. It has a 15-second duration, and it can be extended for 4 seconds. This used to be 9 seconds. There's only Red got a massive nerf with the last patch. So yeah, that did impact things here, but still, nonetheless, very powerful because we want to get our Forge skill up often. I actually, with certain builds, like I'm using a blue skill tree right now, I like to not use a capstone to keep our firewall up because on certain things like ordnance builds, this increases your projectile damage by 25% and speed by 50%. So that can actually be extremely powerful. It has a 50-second cooldown compared to some of the other ones, but being able to use that twice is really nice, especially if you want to activate your abilities here. This can also come with the rolls for Metal Urge. Whenever we deal gun damage, we get action skill cooldown rate for a duration, which is a nice one. It also comes with the Smelter, which is extremely good because whenever you get a kill, it restores a portion of your Forge skill cooldown, and you might not want to invest this many points to get down to the skill tree here. It also comes with the abilities to get Bellows here, which will give you, whenever you activate your Forge skill, increased gun damage for a duration, which is just fantastic. And it can also roll with the Cast Iron, giving Forge skill, cooldown rate, and gun handling. And if you want one for yourself, we're going to go to the Vault Boss Radix here and take them down. Now, third was tough. This is one that I was thinking about putting first, but the Crucible skill tree is a little bit tough to use sometimes. It's a greatly fun one, but the Viking here is actually really great for it. And if you're going to run a green skill tree, I'd recommend this one over using the Forge Drone. So Crucible gets 2 more charges, increased duration, and grants Amon increased damage reduction while active. This will also give you increased detonation damage, and I got a roll of that ordnance damage on here, which is nice. You can also get skill rolls like a +5 to Cacophony here, which will give you increased ordnance damage and detonation radius, which is actually really nice. You can also get the reactive armor here, which will give you shield and ordnance cooldown on detonations. You can also get the Fist of Stones. Whenever we deal melee damage, will restore a portion of our Forge skill cooldown. Again, melee damage is catch-all because we can actually do that with our Forge drones as well. And it can also roll with the Blast Furnace here. Whenever Amon or his Forge drones critically hit an enemy or cause a detonation, we get increased damage dealt for a duration, and this can stack up. Now, one cool thing I just want to mention is you actually melee with these. So if you don't want to throw them, you can swing them. And what's great about that is when you pop this up, you got that damage reduction. So yeah, you may want to throw them. You might not want to. You might just want to get up and start hacking away. But yeah, you see that bar in the middle of the screen. You're going to have a damage reduction for that time, which is pretty nice. Honestly, I think the Viking is a very powerful one. Could have been in the first place, but if you're going to do a green skill tree, do yourself a favor, get the Viking class mod. It is just fantastic for that style play. And to farm one for yourself, you're going to come up to the top left-hand side, and we're going to go fight Callus the Ripper Queen. Now, this is tough. I was back and forth with the Viking and the Shadow White here for a while, but I think the Shadow White is the second best for a number of reasons. So this is only applicable to the blue skill tree, so Forge Waves will now deal melee damage in addition to their other types. Melee attacks will Scourge as active, gain increased cryo efficiency and radius. This is actually pretty good and always come with a boost to your cryo damage. And why this is so good is now whenever we have our action skill up, I really like this if you're using the Scourge skill tree. And if you're using something like the Eternal Winter here, which whenever you do your attacks, you're going to basically keep yourself into this form almost indefinitely. But getting that extra melee damage is nice because, again, I like with the blue skill tree to always dip into the red. It's honestly ideal to get to there's only red, and then my touch is death. And this can then activate your kill skills, which you're going to do often with the Scourge because it's now doing your melee damage on top of ordnance damage, on top of cryo damage. So anything that impacts your melee, your cryo, and your ordnance is going to increase the damage here. So yeah, it becomes pretty nuts. Now, it comes to skill rolls, and this one's probably the worst. Northern Wind, whenever gun critical hits, have a chance to apply slow as if it dealt cryo damage. That kind of sucks. I don't really like it. I've tried to use this. It doesn't really work that great because you're going to be using cryo damage likely anyways. But the Age of Ice, increased damage to frozen enemies and bosses, flat out DPS boost. And also the Tactician here, we get increased fire rate when hip firing, but decreased gun handling. And when aiming, we get increased gun damage and gun handling. So this is actually really nice because that's going to boost up your overall damage when you aim. And crazy enough, this one can actually give you a skill roll into Berserk, which, as I mentioned previously, is Amon's best skill here. Now, the reason I think this is so great is this actually incentivizes you to take points in the Tritanium Knuckles here, which can give you a massive 35% boost to your melee damage, which is now getting a boost to the blue skill tree. I actually have a full build on this, and it's crazy. You can face tank bosses, take down their health bars, and you basically have this infinitely with the Eternal Winter. What's also nice with adding melee damage to it is that with bare arms here, melee damage now benefits with increases to gun damage, and that also applies to I am a gun action skill damage, so you can kind of double dip with both of these specializations. But yeah, kind of similar to the Furnace, is going to give you that bonus to cryo damage 45% which is really nice because we're going to be doing a lot of cryo damage with this, and also getting Berserk is fantastic. So yeah, the Shatter Blade is really nice. This one is a little annoying to farm, but you're going to go to the Arc of Arigo here and fight the Vault boss there. And yeah, getting skill roll, the perfect skill roll in this is a nightmare. That's what I mean. It's not that hard to farm. It's more so hard to get your preferred rolls. And for our best class mod for Amon, I know this seems like a surprise, but the skill rolls on this are fantastic. Now, Amon's best style build is his ordnance build. This is just giving you incredible amounts of damage. And with this particular one, we can shoot our gun off infinitely. So you can watch the ammo. Whenever we hit that boss, we're getting our ammo back with this class mod. It is absurd. And this can also apply to your rocket launcher. So yeah, as long as you hit the enemies there, you can see we can destroy them and we get infinite amounts of ordnance as long as we hit an enemy. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So the sideboard. This one had pretty good rolls. We got plus 20% damage dealt, plus 45% ordnance damage, and plus 10% ordnance critical hit chance. That is like a god roll for this because we're going all in on our ordnance damage that you saw there. And Ultimate Vault Hunter 5 deletes bosses, it deletes the Vault boss. There's nothing that can stand up to this class mod. Now, the skills that it gives is what makes it so good. So this can give you the Ballistic Bulwark. And this is actually really crazy because this will give you overshield when you deal ordnance damage, which is primarily the reason you'd ever choose this in the first place. You're going to always want to be dealing ordnance damage. And what's nice about that overshield is it actually applies also to the Scourge skill tree there as well. So whenever you pull up the whips, you can use those as well. You don't always have to just use ordinances. It also gives bonus points to Scorch Kairos, which is crazy because this is going to give you even further ordnance damage. You get a 42% bonus and increased magazine size, which is really nice as well. But the big one that we get is actually all the way into the green skill tree and would require a hefty investment with the Endless Bombardment. This is absurd. Grenades have a chance to refund themselves at 18% chance, and heavy ordnance have a chance to refund 1 ammo on damaging enemies. Now, this is obviously in conjunction with the rest of this build, and I do have a build on my channel if you're curious how to do that. But yeah, in conjunction with all these different abilities here, we're able to get infinite amounts of ammo, and it's mostly due to the skill tree, but also heavily due to this too. So yeah, if you want to have the most high damage Amon build in Borderlands 4, you got to use the sidebar. It's just the best. Unfortunately, I would love a legendary one here. We'll see what happens when the DLC comes out and further updates to the game. But let me know your thoughts on the best Amon class mod in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a great day. We'll catch you in the next one.